exercise your brain, whether that be music, language, visual arts, creative writing. There's a lot that people can actively do to take ownership of their brain health right now.
And there's lots of tools out there for us to be healthy and happy and have pleasure.
Is it too early or is it too late for me to get a joint replacement? And I think there is a fine balance between rushing into surgery and waiting so long that your function has declined to the point where you can't get much benefit from the surgery.
But if you do these things every day, this is going to help with your strength. Start with some joint rotations before you do this, and I swear to God, this is a fountain of youth.
From the Zoomerplex in historic Liberty Village, the Zoomer with Libby Znaimer.
Hello and welcome to the Zoomer. Weight gain, arthritis, hearing loss, and pain. These are just a few of the maladies that traditionally come with aging. Today we have a virtual cornucopia of experts here to tell us how we can overcome these problems, and we'll show you some of the tools and technology to help us achieve that. This is the Zoomer's look at aging hacks. Let's tee up the topic.
The stats are clear. Canadians are living longer and healthier lives. Since the early 1900s, the average lifespan of Canadians has increased by more than 30 years. Today, life expectancy for men is 79 years, and for women, 83 years. And these numbers are climbing. Babies born today may have a life expectancy of 100, and some scientists believe lifespans of 120 years are possible. Great news. But with aging come the maladies of aging. Hearing loss, arthritis, pain, weight gain, and sexual dysfunction.
Damn, son.
Thanks to medical advances and technology, combined with a healthy lifestyle, life in your 100s may be very different than you'd expect.
Well, we've assembled an esteemed group of professionals here to share their expertise on the latest thinking on everything from nutrition and exercise to orthopedic breakthroughs, sexual health, brain health, and pain management. So let's start with a big question. Is this the best time to be old? Dr. Rapson.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're living longer and we're acting younger than we really are. And we have at our disposal all kinds of wonderful things, including acupuncture, which is my area of special expertise, which I combine with nutrition. And people can really carry on.
Dr. Ravi, is this the best time to be old?
I would think so. I think, as Dr. Rapson said, expectations for people, older people these days are much different than they were even a couple of generations ago. I think people are a lot more active and they expect to be a lot more active, and certainly technology has advanced to a stage where we can make that possible.
Okay, Doug.
It is a great time to be alive and to be old. We have a really accessible, relatively cheap and inexpensive food supply with lots of technologies rising as well, where we're getting to the point of personalized medicine and nutrition, where we'll be able to give targeted, specific nutrition messages based on people's DNA. So, yeah, it's a good time.
Gerda, you are old.
I am old, but I don't feel old. It's just a number.
Do you think that you're better off than you would have been had you reached your wonderful age a couple of generations ago?
Probably, yes. I know 60 was old. When my mom died at 72, I thought she was old. So things are different today. People are more conscious of leading a good lifestyle, exercising, eating properly.
And may we ask how old you are?
I'm 91.
You look marvelous, as they say. Carlisle Jensen. Sex.
Yes.
We keep hearing that people want to continue to have a healthy sex life in the 70s, 80s, and beyond.
Absolutely, and we all deserve that. And what's fabulous is that there are lots of tools that help us when things don't work so well. And sex toys are becoming more and more accepted. And so people are enhancing their lives in ways simply for pleasure or to deal with things that aren't working so well, to keep a vibrant sexual life healthy.
Is this the best time to be old?
Absolutely. I think older adults are very interested in maintaining their brain health, their memory, their other cognitive functions as they get older. And I think we'll talk today about a lot of the lifestyle behaviors that older adults can engage in to maintain their brain health, but also enhance and optimize their brain health.
Okay, we've got the very latest technologies when it comes to brain health, and there's good news on one of the common ailments that comes along with aging, hearing loss. Stay tuned.
So the back row here would be sort of your hearing aids of the past, and they are, quite bulky and so very chunky, but the hearing aids of today, they are very lightweight and a little more fashionable.
Some of you may have noticed that as you age, being in crowded, noisy places isn't as comfortable as it used to be when you were younger. We seem to get increasingly sensitive to noise as we age, and according to the Hearing Foundation of Canada, hearing loss is the fastest growing and one of the most prevalent chronic conditions facing Canadians today. The good news is that hearing aids have also come a long way, and to tell us about it, we have Listen Up Canada's latest innovations from Chief Audiologist Jillian Price. Hi, Jillian.
Hello there.
What have you got there?
So today I've brought some examples of sort of hearing aids of the past and hearing aids of today. So the back row here would be sort of your hearing aids of the past, and they are, quite bulky, not very fashionable, let's say, and so very chunky. But the hearing aids of today, as you can see in the middle row here, they are quite discreet and very lightweight and a little more fashionable in terms of color and design. And what I would like to do today, just to give a demonstration of the technology of the current, is to show you a hearing aid and how it works with some accessories through wireless connectivity. So we'll actually play something on the TV and have someone listen to it through the hearing aids.
Okay, and we have a volunteer from the audience. Come on down.
Hi.
Hi, what's your name?
Mary.
Mary, nice to meet you, and
Hi.
thanks for volunteering.
Thanks for volunteering. So what we're going to demonstrate today is hearing aids of today have Bluetooth capabilities, and through a small accessory, a TV box that plugs into the back of the TV, you would be able to hear the TV through the sound on your hearing aids, whereas family members will listen as they normally do at their regular volume.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to put this on,
Okay.
and then we are just going to see if you can hear the TV through this device. Okay? So we'll hit the button here.
Every Canadian over 60.
I can hear it, yes.
There we go.
So we took them in. And
Does that seem-
a huge difference?
Oh, yeah.
I just wish we would have had them tested earlier.
You've got a great big smile on your face.
Well, it's great. It'd be handy. So that's great.
Does it sound clear?
Yes.
Great.
So thank you.
Okay.
Mary, thank you. Okay, we have a lot more to talk about. The next topic is brain health. Now, in terms of keeping our brains healthy, I saw a study very recently that sort of said basically that you have to do things that are hard, and that as we get older, we tend to stay away from things that are hard. So doing a pleasant little crossword or a Sudoku isn't enough, but maybe learn another language, that might do it.
So there has been definitely research that's shown that individuals who are bilingual, for example, have a protective effect against dementia. But if you're looking for something a little more perhaps pleasurable, a recent study showed that older adults who experienced music training when they were younger, even in their teenage years, showed actually improved ability to perceive speech sounds or understand speech as an older adult.
Gerda, how many languages do you speak?
3.
3. And do you think that helps keep
It does help. Yeah, it does help.
Which language do you think in?
English. It's been a language it's been the longest time, but my mother tongue was German. Then I grew up in Belgium speaking French, and I still speak all 3 languages languages fluently, although I haven't spoken either French or German for a long time.
I'm just amazing you remember. And what's the role of nutrition?
It's really, really huge, and it's largely underappreciated. So the brain, it's a biological organ, just like any body part, and it needs a steady supply of nutrients to stay healthy, both in terms of structure and function, including neurotransmitter production and function, so that helps with mood, but also reducing organic disease. There's no drug or medication on the market that can come close to what diet can do to prevent the risk or to lower the risk for dementia, including Alzheimer's disease.
I think you have nutrition classes at Baycrest. I know I've seen books from Baycrest that focus on nutrition.
So we have researchers that are very much looking into the role of nutrition. A couple of our researchers are actually developing a brain health food guide, actually, that makes recommendations about dietary choices that they can make to hopefully maintain your brain health. I think it's also about it kind of ties in a recent study where even individuals who had perhaps an unhealthy diet but had a mentally stimulating a vocation, for example, counteracted some of those negative effects. I mean, I think the best is to eat healthy and to promote that healthy lifestyle, but you work in conjunction with a number of different factors that can lead to a healthier brain health lifestyle.
Okay. Coming up next, you know you're aging when you wake up with stiff joints. We talk about what to do, and you won't want to miss what our sex educator, Carlisle Jensen, has to teach you.
Your hip is made up of a cup and a stem. This is the replacement cup we put in, and a stem that goes into your leg.
Welcome back. Growing older has its benefits. We may be getting wiser, but we're also getting a lot creakier. Now, I want a show of hands from both the audience and the table. How many of you wake up each morning with some kind of joint pain? A little creaky? Come on. Okay. I know I do, and many Zoomers are plagued with arthritis. Joint replacements are some of the common operations for our demographic, and they've come a long way. And we have Dr. Bhishma Ravi. Let's start with you.
Hi there.
Hi, what have you brought for us?
Well, I brought examples of what standard hip and knee replacement look like. This is a hip replacement right here. This, your hip is made up of a cup and a stem. This is the replacement cup we put in with some plastic in between, and a stem that goes into your leg, and that's your new hip. And this is designed so that it grows into your native bone. And by and large, I would say that hip replacements have fairly excellent outcomes. They've certainly come a long way since their development several decades ago. And most of the literature now looking at joint registries, both in Canada, North America as a whole, and Europe, show that this iteration has a good lifespan up to 15 and even 20 years and beyond.
What about knee replacements?
A hip replacement, I've had a friend that had one and they did really well, but they had a knee replacement and they didn't do as well. It is the only surgical procedure I can think of where we don't really let the patient relax afterwards. There's a good chance that your muscles might stiffen up, so we get people moving almost right away. And the rehab is more challenging as a result because it's tough after surgery when someone comes to your bed and starts bending your leg to get you moving. But again, 6 weeks or 3 months later, I can tell you, at least in my own practice and most of my training so far, people are very happy.
At what point do people go for the surgery? At the point where they're completely debilitated with pain, or do they come in a little earlier?
Traditionally, people used to wait until they were very debilitated, almost in a wheelchair. And we've shown now, or we've certainly demonstrated, that their results just aren't as good. There's only so much a hip replacement can do for them. If your muscles are weak because you've waited too long for surgery, then we take away your pain, but we don't really restore your function. There is a balance between getting it too soon and getting it too late. And I would highly recommend to anyone, if they had concerns about this, to get checked up for it earlier rather than later. If you're in your 60s and you're having a lot of pain, it is, I think, a good idea to consider seeing an orthopedic surgeon or a musculoskeletal expert. You may not be a candidate for surgery, but you can start doing things that will help you improve your pain and really have a beneficial impact for the decades you have left.
Okay, thanks a lot. Let's talk about sex.
All right.
Okay, sex and older people. At what point do people start experiencing difficulties?
15.
Those are the worst.
So, you know, something like erectile dysfunction, for example, can affect people of all ages. It tends to be more common as we age, but certainly psychological factors can affect us at any age. Imagine if the last time I had sex, I couldn't get an erection. Next time I have sex, that's what I'm going to be thinking about, and often that's what gets in the way. Lo and behold, I can't get an erection. The great thing is that toys for men in particular have really changed, and we have now what we call guy-braters.
Okay, that took me a minute.
So this is called the hot octopus. Not sure why it's called an octopus, but what it is that you can feel there, it vibrates the frenulum, which is this little part of the penis there that's very sensitive. And so a man can use it whether he has an erection or not. So he doesn't need an erection to enjoy it. And what's also great about it, she can sit on top and experience the vibration here so that you can be in a position that's very similar to intercourse, so you can still enjoy pleasure even though things aren't working the way that they may be used to, which is fabulous, so that you can have intimacy in that connection if you still want it.
Okay, here's a question that you talk about dryness. And
yes.
A lot of women think, okay, that it just happens, but there's something called atrophy, and there's a fix for it that a lot of women don't know about it. It's not that drastic.
Yeah, so lots of things that we can do to keep our vaginas healthy. One thing is regular lubrication. So lubrication when we're having sex and lubrication when we're not having sex. Bringing blood flow to the area, and there are some MDs who recommend, an orgasm a day, and so using a vibrator in order to bring blood flow to the area. You don't have to use it internally, so you could use a vibrator like this one, but you don't have to use it internally to still get the benefits of the blood flow coming inside and strengthening the tissues there. And then you can use a toy like that or a specific dilator, especially people who are going through cancer treatments where the vagina does start to atrophy, helping the vagina to stay open and to stay wide enough to accommodate penetration. You can use those. And of course, our pelvic floor exercises.
Okay.
Which we can all do right now, right?
Okay, I'm doing it.
So squeezing and relaxing, and if you don't know where those muscles are,
then you're in trouble.
So next time that you are peeing, trying to stop the flow of urine, those are the muscles, and you want to squeeze those and exercise those 20 to 100 times a day. That will keep the area healthy, will reduce the problems where you lose a little bit when you sneeze, and you pee a little bit. And it also prevents the uterus and the bladder from falling sometimes through the vaginal walls, which is very painful. And one study in France took a whole bunch of women who were supposed to go through surgery, which is very painful, in order to bring the uterus or the bladder up. And with just our pelvic floor exercises, I think 98% of them were able to avoid surgery.
Well, everything we keep hearing, exercise is kind of the magic bullet. Okay, and the toys, what's that?
This is known as a penis ring.
Okay.
So another thing that happens sometimes for men is that they have a hard time getting an erection. And so sometimes they will use a pump like this, which has suction to it. What it does is it vacuums out the air, and something has to fill in the vacuum, and that's the blood. So the blood will rush in and he can get an erection that way. And then once you have your erection, you put this at the base of the penis and it allows the blood to stay in and it maintains your erection and allows you to stay harder for longer.
Okay, and does this kind of wreck the mood?
Well, it's all a matter of how you look at it. Sometimes we need some toys and they can add pleasure, they can fix things, but I think if we start to think of them as, ooh, that's going to give me a sexy time, we don't think of them as a barrier, but we think of them as, oh, that's really fun, and that starts to get our juices flowing and get us excited, rather than thinking, oh, I have to use this thing.
Okay, sounds like a good attitude. And coming up, something each and every one of us can accomplish if we want to. I'm talking about our fitness and nutrition. Our two experts will make them both palatable for us when we return.
So getting everything flowing and moving again, shoulder rolls, hip rotations, all that kind of stuff. And then I recommend, very sexy move,
Okay, with all that talk about exercise, I think I'm ready for some. Hi, Greg. Thanks
Hi,
for
Libby.
being here.
My pleasure.
Okay, well, let's start with what we should be doing when we first get out of bed in the morning.
What we should be doing when we first get out of the bed in the morning, I recommend, first of all, just warming up with a few joint rotations, so getting everything flowing and moving again, shoulder rolls, hip rotations, all that kind of stuff. And then I recommend, very sexy move, basic strength exercises. And so if I prioritize what the human body should be doing, we need to be able to squat, we need to be able to hip hinge, we need some pushing type motions, and we need some pulling type motions.
Okay,
so I'm going to
let's
take
do
you
it.
through those. So
Okay.
first thing is a squat. So
All right.
the easiest way to start the squat, if you're not sure, is to use a chair and actually squat to the chair. So we're going to stand in front of our chairs, about shoulder, you want your feet about shoulder width apart, weight's going to be on the heels, feet slightly splayed. And before you just break at the knees, because that's going to put some strain on your knees, I want you to push your hip back. So this is very much like you're closing a car door with your butt. And see if you can pull yourself down to the chair and try and control it. And the further back you sit, the more effective it's going to be, because you're going to wake up the hamstrings. So butt goes back, pull yourself down, good, and come up. And the other thing I want you to watch is that your knees track over your toes. So,
Okay.
All right?
What's next?
Next one is a hip hinge.
Okay.
I think this one is important, especially for posture. All these muscles in the back, your glutes, your hamstrings. So you take a hip width stance.
Okay.
And instead of squatting, I'm going to keep my shins vertical, and chest is going to come up, and we're going to push our butts back like this. And you can use your hands forward, and you want to feel it in the back of your legs. So this is the whole posterior chain. And they call it a posterior chain for a reason, because everything is connected from here to here. So hip hinging is a great movement to start with, because it works on mobility and it works on strength.
Okay.
Okay? Third thing, we need to push.
Okay.
And this is upper body strength. And the most basic thing I can think of is a push-up. So we're gonna go back here for 1 second. And I want you to put your hands on the wall. You want to be about shoulder width apart, and your back is going to be nice and flat, so you don't want any sagging here. And I want you to bring yourself forward so that your nose almost touches the wall, and then just push off again. That's excellent, excellent. So I'm seeing no sagging here, which is really good.
Okay.
Let's come to the next version.
Okay.
So here we can use an elevated surface. We could use a chair. I'd actually prefer we just don't have one, like a table or a countertop or
Okay.
something that's a little more solid. And here, now I'm going to be more horizontal to the ground. So
Okay.
again, I want to make sure my heels will be off the floor, that I'm nice and stable,
Oh,
my back
push
is
it.
flat. I bring my chest down to the chair and push back off again. And you just go as deep as you can. Look
that
at
one's
this, she's
hard.
pretty good. She's pretty good. So we're keeping the elbows nice and tucked, okay?
Not getting very far
No,
there.
that's okay, because this stuff takes practice, and that's why I think you should do this every day. So 10 repetitions a day is really good for you. So that's a push. We also need a pull.
Okay.
And that's probably the hardest to get with body weight, because when I think of pulling motions, I think of things like pull-ups and chin-ups and inverted rows, and those are very difficult for a lot of people. So this one, we're going to use a little bit of external resistance. So people could use a dumbbell, but if you don't have one, look what I
Okay.
brought. This is my bottle of water, so this is how, this is how I know how much water.
Is this how much water I have to drink
It's
every day?
about 2.2 liters, so I would say if you get through that, you're good. All right?
All right.
So this one, we can use a chair for support. So what you're going to do is we're going to take a split stance. So if the dumbbell is in my right hand, my right leg is going to be back. You can place your hand, you can place it on the back of the chair, but I actually prefer it on the front of the chair like this. So you want to pull the shoulder in before you bend your arm. So you're going to keep your arms straight, just pull the shoulder in, and then row towards your hip. So you don't want to row up to your chest. You're rowing back towards your hip because you want to engage the whole lats. And it's almost like you're trying to elbow an annoying person behind you. And you're working these muscles here. And you're going to do about 10 reps per side.
Okay.
But if you do these things every day, this is going to help with your strength. Start with some joint rotations before you do this, and I swear to God, this is the fountain of youth.
Can I stop now?
Yes, you may. Good job, Libby.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks so much. And there's virtually no point exercising if you're not going to be mindful about what you put in your mouth. So we sent our videographer, Darren Maharaj, on a mission to seek out the latest in superfoods with a little help from holistic nutritionist Glenda Britton.
Superfoods, it's a catchy buzzword you can find on a ton of products these days, but how do you figure out what actually works and what's just a slick marketing gimmick? Well, we're here at my local supermarket to find out which foods deserve the title of super and truly benefit your body, mind, and spirit.
As a holistic nutritionist, though, I believe in the raw ingredients like blueberries. They have a lot of phytonutrients in them, and these phytonutrients are actually anti-aging. Organic baby spinach contains something called phytoceramides, which is actually in your skin. And if you don't have enough phytoceramides as you age, you'll have more wrinkles. You could even develop acne. The good fat in avocados is a medium-chain triglyceride. It's great for brain health, helps with memory, helps with actually losing weight around your abdomen. As you can see, there are so many different options of yogurt in the grocery store today. It can be quite confusing, but the one that I really like is this one here. It's made with grass-fed milk, and it only has 2 ingredients, bacterial culture and dairy. Can't forget the bananas. They're a great source of vitamin C and potassium. Next on our list are hemp hearts. They're a great source of omega-3 fatty acids, and they are a complete protein. Okay, last but not least, coconut oil. This is a great source of fat. Medium-chain triglycerides, great for the brain, great for the waistline. There, and the best part is that all these ingredients go together to make a really great smoothie.
Now that tastes amazing. For the full recipe, you can find it for the Zoomerlicious Detoxifying Anti-Aging Smoothie. It's a little name I gave to it myself. You can find it at theZoomerTV.com. I'm Darren Maharaj with Glenda Britton at the Longos at Maple Leaf Square, saying cheers for Zoomer News. Cheers.
Cheers. We now have a good idea what it takes to stay mentally and physically healthy, so I'd like to throw out the question to our experts. What is the one thing you want Zoomers to know about their health, and that is never too late for them to start?
I think the most important thing I can tell Zoomers out there is to stay active. And if you're not active, it's never too late to start. Obviously, you want to start safely, but even going for walks every day and just finding things you can do every day to stay active is probably the best thing you can do for yourself.
What do you do?
I used to walk 4.2 miles an hour, but I find now I walk 2-3 times a day, 20-25 minutes. It's more beneficial than walking an hour.
Okay. Doug, we saw Darren's report. What do you have to add to that?
Health can be regained and maintained at the very next meal, and that by improving your nutritional, or rather your food choices and improving your nutritional status in that regard, you can still achieve health in the long run.
What about people regaining their sex life?
Even if you're not partnered, to value that part of yourself, that, we're still sexy as we grow older, and there's lots of different ways that we can feel pleasure and to nurture that side of ourselves as well.
How important, though, is exercise in staving off dementia or slowing the progression?
Well, I think exercise in general is a great recipe for anyone. I think you have to do it safely and talk to your healthcare provider or, someone who knows your health status to make sure you customize it for yourself.
Okay, thanks. And coming up next, it's our tech wizard, Mark Saltzman, will tell us about some interesting user-friendly apps that we can all benefit from when we return.
And then there's this Go Safe solution that works outside. So it knows where you are, should you need to, you might be in a park and you tripped. And that way, even if you couldn't press the button, it has that auto alert built in.
One of the biggest issues for people is how to live independently for as long as possible. And Mark, you have the technology to help us.
Yes, thanks, Libby. Well, some of these what we call aging in place solutions may be familiar to our audience and your viewers at home. Others maybe not so much, but the idea is that we would like, if possible, of course, to have our loved ones live longer independently before they have to go to an assisted environment. And technology can play a role with their consent, of course, with some of these, as we'll get to. It has to be handled delicately, I believe. And it's not a one-size-fits-all scenario. Some of these may not appeal to everybody, but why don't we start with the one that many of our parents or aging grandparents have already, and that is an emergency button or pendant with fall detection. So I brought with me the Philips Lifeline family.
Okay, I'll hold it up
here. So that is the pendant that you would wear on your wrist or around your neck on the lanyard. And should you fall, you could press the button and it would talk to the base communicator at home, and it would immediately call the Philips Lifeline emergency response personnel. And then if possible, they'll try to talk to you about what happened and going down the list of who they should reach, right? Whether it's 911 immediately, or perhaps a loved one, a neighbor perhaps. And if there's no response at all, then they would of course call 911 to help you. And then there's this Go Safe solution that works outside. So it has cellular connectivity, it has GPS and Wi-Fi and other technology under the hood, so it knows where you are. You know, should you need to, you might be in a park and you tripped, or you fell, and that way even if you couldn't press the button, it has that auto alert built in.
Would you be able to give that to somebody who has some dementia and wanders? I mean, they obviously wouldn't be...
Correct. That's a great question. It does have that location ability. All right, let's now move on to pill medication reminders and dispensers. So going back to dementia, problems like Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, people forget to take their medication. It is called the ePill MedTime Station. And this is a station that you would fill up with pills. I put some candies in there just to keep it a little bit more fun here. 28 different compartments, so you can have different pills for different times of the day, or more than one person in the same home taking pills. And you can set it up to a week, depends on how many alarms you want. But the idea is that you lock it up. You set it, you lock it up, it's battery operated. You snap it shut, and there's both a loud siren and a light that will alert the person at home that it's time to take their medication. The third, this is where things get kind of interesting. These are sensors that you could place in and around the home that will let a loved one know if your aging parents, for example, are not going into a part of the home that you want them to, or leaving a bedroom, for example. So let me give you a few case scenarios. Let's say you want to put a sensor on the fridge. So if your aging mom, for example, has not opened the fridge within a predetermined amount of time, it will notify the caregiver, the family member.
She's forgotten to eat.
That she's forgotten to eat. Or if the medicine cabinet hasn't been opened. Or if they haven't left their bedroom and it's 10 a.m. These are the kinds of things that we may want to know about. And that is something that we're going to see a lot more of. It's part of this Internet of Things trend, as we call it, IoT, where all of these little devices are all talking to one another, but it can be used for aging in place. And then finally, we shall talk about video, and that is video communication with consent with your loved ones at home who are living alone. So this is using services like Skype, a free app on mobile phones, tablets, laptops, and desktops that lets you video chat with mom and dad or whomever who's living alone. And you can set up a regular call. It'll ring loudly like a regular phone call, and they just sit in front, and you can set it to auto answer so they don't have to tap or click anything, and even see the home literally behind them to make sure everything's okay.
Interesting. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to be taking some questions from the audience. We've got our first audience question with Lynn Crellin. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I have a question about chronic arthritis. I have arthritis in my left wrist, and I play the ukulele, so it's important that I don't have this chronic pain. And I just wondered, what are the breakthroughs without popping a pill every day?
Wrist arthritis obviously is very challenging, as I'm sure you're experiencing day to day. In general, for everyone with arthritis, the best thing I can recommend is to try and remain active. You have to just ice your wrist every day and take Tylenol arthritis fairly regularly, especially if you know you're going to have a particularly active day. Take it before your pain starts. Generally I advise people to swim, and you can always run your wrist underwater. You can see your family doctor or someone else will potentially give you a cortisone injection in your wrist. I don't know if you've had that before. That can help sometimes with pain, but it may not last very long. And down the line, depending on how advanced your arthritis is, there are surgical options as well. But I would exhaust non-surgical options before getting to that stage. And just trying to keep active and keep moving your wrist.
Thank you.
Hi, our next guest is Lynn Mack.
Thank you. Hi. My question is, 12 weeks ago, I broke both my right arm and my left arm swinging from the chandelier, so, a bad chandelier. Anyway, I've progressed slowly but surely. My concern is, will I be able to get back to skiing and Tai Chi and, other activities? I'm on the high end of the boomers, so I want another 25 years. So if somebody can give me that guarantee, I would be pleased.
In writing?
In
writing. I'll sign it for you.
I think you need to take something away from what everyone here suggested. You need to really follow your physician's instructions in terms of how to heal, and your physiotherapist, et cetera, in terms of how to move once you heal. You probably need to adjust your diet as well, and just generally work on pain control. But it is achievable that you can get back to where you were before, but it doesn't just happen. But yes, you can get there. But no, I won't write it down.
Done. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much to our audience members for their questions. And right now we're going to take a quick break. After the break, our experts will give us their final thoughts. And in the meantime, we leave you with online reactions to some of our previous shows. Stay tuned.
Our audiences certainly had a lot to say about our recent hydro rate show. On Fight Back with Libby Znaimer on AM 740, Margaret gave us a piece of her mind.
I'm talking about the price of hydro. What I use in hydro is cheaper than the 3 charges they put on after that. And they're giving out now 2 bills a month. It's not even a month, it was 28 days of the one I paid last.
On Facebook, Gladys writes, "When is this crisis going to stop? You cannot tell me that useless premier cannot do something about it." On our Facebook feed, regarding our caregiver show, Rosalind Dooley said, "Don't forget, Canadian government paid almost $3 million to cater to royalty rather than take care of the most important people who worked all their lives." Also on Facebook, regarding our show on the Kurdish freedom fighters and their fight against ISIS, Hernan Cortez mentioned, "Great show. Sad these issues are purposely ignored by most media in our country." Arlene Heap sent us an email saying, "I really enjoyed being part of the audience and hope that I will be able to attend another. How do I know when it will be televised?" Thanks for your question, Arlene. You can find air dates and any other information about theZoomer by going to our website, www.thezoomertv.com.
Welcome back. Now it's time for our experts to leave us with their final thoughts. Let's begin with you, Dr. Ravi.
Thank you. As I've mentioned many times, I think the best thing for everyone is to stay active. If you're a Zoomer, you need to embrace that. You need to realize that, getting up and moving around, even if it's just for a few minutes every day, can make a huge difference. The biggest question I get asked in my clinical practice is it too early or is it too late for me to get a joint replacement? And I think there is a fine balance between rushing into surgery and waiting so long that your function has declined to the point where you can't get much benefit from the surgery. Talk to your family doctor about arthritis early on, because if you at least see a surgeon or you see someone who can advise you on arthritis and the best exercises, et cetera, to recover from it, then you'll be better in the long run.
Okay, Doug.
Quite simply that health is the ultimate wealth. Without health, you can't really do much, and that we all have to grow older. It's inevitable, but it's not necessarily a bad news story. There's a lot within our control to make it a pleasurable and worthwhile endeavor.
And I think the example of that is sitting right next to you, Gerda.
Yeah. I also would say that exercising both your body and your brain is very important. and not giving in to minor things, ignoring them. I find sometimes I'm walking, my knees are sore, and after a while walking, they're fine, I walk it out. So it's just to have a positive attitude.
That's very important.
And enjoy life.
Good advice.
So building on Gerda's comment, definitely exercise your brain. I think you can do things in your lifestyle at any age to stimulate your cognition, and that can be something that works in your daily lifestyle. So whether that be music, language, visual arts, creative writing, there's a lot that people can actively do to take ownership of their brain health right now.
Okay.
I want to bring up something, and that's to do with the opioid crisis. Because I get very upset when I read about it, and there's never any mention of doing something like acupuncture instead of the opioids, which would keep people from getting hooked on them. The other thing is that there's good long-standing experience in taking away addiction, taking away withdrawal symptoms with acupuncture, getting people off them. There are other options than going on to opioids.
And we finish with sex.
Well, sex is a part of life, and I think to value that part of your life, I think we think about, our food and our exercise, but our sexual health is also important, and a lot of people, if something doesn't start to work properly, we feel shame and we feel embarrassed and we don't talk to our doctor, we don't do anything. And I've seen so many people who abandoned their sexuality and then one day just met somebody new, or it was reawakened, and all of a sudden they're like, why did I let go of that part of my life for so long? And they have energy and they're alive in a whole different way. So feed that part of your life and don't ignore it and think it doesn't matter. It might and it can, and I think pleasure in lots of ways can feed our souls.
Okay. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty optimistic about my future. And now it's time to zoom out.